Today on Locked On Red Wings, will Alex DeBrincat replicate last season, or can he go to the next level?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, we have our second to last player preview episode as we discuss whether or not Alex DeBrincat has another 39-goal season in him. In segment 2, we'll discuss Ben Chiarot and what is a realistic expectation for his final season in Detroit. And then we'll cap off the episode with Austin Watson. But before we get to that, I got to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets right now. Alex DeBrincat, Scotty, was everything we had hoped he would be in year 2 in Detroit, bouncing back from an inconsistent first year, maybe even a little bit better than we had hoped, actually, scoring 39 goals, being an ever-present pest on the forecheck, and frankly giving probably better results defensively than we expected. Not that that bar was incredibly high to begin with, but Scotty, going into year 3 for Alex DeBrincat, where are your hopes and expectations?
I mean, they're pretty darn high. Looking back at 2020, the 2024, 2025 season, man, he really was one of the best players and most valuable players on the entire roster last season. I mean, you look at production and just even the counting stats by the end of the season, you're talking about the highest goal total on the team. And again, the production defensively might not, win him any awards anytime soon, but it was certainly a better effort and a better, production than we were used to or from what we were expecting from him, right? So I think the expectations are pretty high. Like, the only reason that he finds himself as a projected second liner is not anything he did. It's just because of fit with Kane and whatnot. I mean, in a perfect world, he'd certainly be on the top line. I'm sure he'll play plenty of top line minutes this year as well over the course of 82 games. So, yeah, I think it's super fair for the expectation to be one of the best point producers on the roster. I really think that is within the realm of possibility. Is he going – I think something is probably wrong if he leads the team outright in points, but I think that expecting him to be this team's goal leader and be in the top 3 in points is pretty fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, this is one of the few players where goals are actually the barometer. Assists are nice too, and we actually defended his play in his first year because he set a career high in assists. So the goals weren't finding the back of the net at the pace that we had wanted when they got him. But he set a career high in assists. He had 67 points. He was still contributing in other ways. But for Alex DeBrincat, goals are actually the barometer for the most part. Can he score at the clip that we expect of him? Last year he did. We actually lowered our expectations of Alex DeBrincat going into last year because of that first season. We were like between 30 and 35. He got 39. So this year, he's back to being Alex DeBrincat that we traded and acquired him and expected him to be. The question is, I think the expectation is fair to set between 35 and 40 yet again. Have that as the expectation. I shouldn't say yet again because, again, we lowered it last year. But because he reached 39, set that expectation as there between 35 and 40 for a second straight year. And then have the point totals. He had 70 last year. I think between 65 and 70, kind of just replicate that. Because, again, he's not old. He's in his prime, but he's also not like in that prime development window anymore. If Alex DeBrincat can do exactly what he did for the Red Wings last year this upcoming season, I'm going to be very happy with Alex DeBrincat. I think the question is, Scotty, is it fair to hope – Is it fair to think he can break 40? He hit 39. He's hit 40 twice in his career. Would that be setting the bar too high? Like kind of asking him to exceed our expectations a little bit? Or do you think that that's completely fair considering how close he got last year?
Yeah, I mean, he was a goal away, dude. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, I don't. You're talking about one of the patented DeBrincat posts away from going bar down instead of bar up, and we're talking about him having a 40-goal season. And to your point, he's literally done it in 2 of his 6 or 7 seasons now in the NHL. So yeah, I think it's totally fair. Now, if he hits 40 exactly, I think people sometimes get a little bit too hung up on the round number counting stats. He scored 9 goals last year. He was not too much is different if that number is a 40. When we have this conversation, in principle, it shouldn't change too much, at least. So I think that, yeah, for him to hit 40 wouldn't be, him. And that's a good thing. Like, it wouldn't be him super, like, what did we say during the mid-season update? It was above and beyond expectations was our highest. If he hits 40, that's not above and beyond, but that's because the bar is just way higher than it has been so far in his Red Wings career. That's a good thing. That means we're expecting more out of him because he's playing better. That's not a negative connotation to say that he is that wouldn't be a massive, exceeding of expectations.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the situation where this is what Alex DeBrincat can be. This is what his peak has been, right? 41 is his career high in goals. He's hit it twice. He had 39 last year. So to expect, if he hits 42, that's exceeding our expectations. I mean, as a whole, when they acquired him. If he hits 35 to 40 this season, he's meeting the expectations. But that's kind of the Goldilocks zone for him, is just keep finding the back of the net. As far as minutes-wise, like, you're going to be playing him on the second line, like, for all the reasons you already stated, right? He's not on the first line because he just has better chemistry with Patrick Kane and Lucas Raymond, Lucas Raymond and Larkin have very good chemistry. So you're going to keep those 2 guys together. So It's just one of those situations where you kind of have 2 pairs already figured out. So that's how it's going to go. The minutes are pretty evenly distributed, although the difficulty of those minutes, not necessarily evenly distributed. That second line gets a lot of offensive zone deployments, but that's okay because Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat's connection in the offensive zone
because they're good offensively. Right. Yeah, again, that's very intentional. I think the big question for me is, can he replicate or even improve the 5-on-5 production? Because we have seen that is the big difference between 2 seasons ago and last year. He's always been great on the power play. And certainly there were cold stretches and hotter stretches. And, last year, everybody on the power play was incredible. But the even strength goal, I mean, we saw there was at one point in his first season in Detroit. Do you remember when he went? It was like a month and a half without an even strength goal or something ridiculous, right? And I remember that being a big talking point. So, yeah, he's always going to be a power play specialist and somebody that obviously produces a lot there. But, he was a goal away from 40 because he also produced at 5-on-5. And I think that's kind of the biggest question I have is, okay, Patrick Kane, Marco Kasper, we're presuming, and DeBrincat, is that a line that can produce offensively at a consistent clip at even strength, or are Kane and Cat going to have to rely heavily on the power play again?
Well, with Alex DeBrincat, it was both, right? Like last season, he had he led the Red Wings in even strength goals at 5-on-5 at least. That's not even strength and 5-on-5 are different, but by the filter I'm using at 5-on-5. Yeah,
but that's my point. Is we've seen one good year and one bad year. This is year 3. Which level of production are we going to get?
I think it's the true Cat. I mean, I think that last year he was snake bitten, and the first season, I should say, with the Red Wings, he was snake bitten. I think this with Patrick Kane is the real Alex DeBrincat in his peak form. He had 22 5-on-5 goals last year of his 39. So obviously a huge chunk came on the power play, but his 5-on-5 goals led the team. So he's someone who can do both. And according to his evolving hockey player card, Scotty, his expected goals above replacement was higher than his actual. So at even strength. So he had 22 goals at even strength last season, but according to evolving hockey, he should have produced more from where he was shooting from. So there is actually still like the idea, the question that can he break 40? Can he get to his career high in 41? Like you said, That was 2 goals away. Absolutely he can. But I'm also not going to be disappointed if he's at 37, because if he's in that window, he's doing his job.
For sure. Absolutely. If he hits 35 plus, it is another good season for him. I'm not going to split hairs over a goal or two to, make or break his entire 82 game season.
Right. So just Alex DeBrincat, continue to be Alex DeBrincat, and he'll meet our expectations. Scotty, we're going to move on to Ben Chiarot, or as I have him on the Today show sheet, Ben Chiarot, because I spelled it wrong and didn't notice until we were already recording. So we'll talk about him in segment 2 as he enters his 4th and final year with the Detroit Red Wings. Stay tuned. Locked On Red Wings. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You're going to love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. I do want to let you guys know that we have an important request for you. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've been putting together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make sure your favorite podcasts are even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to LockedOnPodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's LockedOnPodcasts.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping out. All right, Scotty, segment 2, we're talking about Ben Chiarot, and I think the main question with Ben Chiarot is, we all know who he is at this point, right? We're entering the 4th year of him here. He's played either on the top pair or the second pair his entire tenure here. He is a player that is someone who finds himself under much scrutiny, under the magnifying glass often with the Detroit Red Wings. What is a fair expectation of Ben Chiarot going into his 4th year? Not what we want to see from Ben Chiarot, but what we are probably going to see and what is fair to expect from that.
Yeah, he's really fighting an uphill battle here. And the reason why is really no fault of his own. I genuinely mean that. I think it is ridiculous to expect Ben Chiarot to be the perennial top pair defenseman that he was in his prime years, that were not with the Detroit Red Wings, obviously. But I think that the Red Wings want to be good. They want to get over the hump and be a playoff team. And in order to do that, they are going to need whoever plays next to Mo Seider on the top pair to perform like a top pair defenseman. And right now, it looks an awful lot like that's going to be Ben Chiarot. So it's a fine line between what I expect out of him based on his performance level the last 3 years and what he is at this point in his career and what the team needs him to be if they want to take that next step. I'm not trying to put the whole season is not on Ben Chiarot's shoulders. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if he's the top pair guy, he's going to get a lot of minutes and needs to step up and perform at least close to that level.
Yeah. Ben Chiarot at this point of his career is not a first pair defenseman, but he's likely going to play in a top 4 role on this team. Ideally, we're able to sync up Edvinsson and Seider, move Chiarot down in the lineup, but then the problem becomes your second pair gets so much less viable with Chiarot on the second pair. And, to be fair to Ben Chiarot, right, like you said, it's not through any fault of his own. Like at this point in his career, he should not be playing top pair minutes. He's put in a very tough situation because of the failings of the pro scouting department. He has to play top 4 minutes, and he has to be serviceable. But history shows he probably will be fringe serviceable at most. He's going to struggle in those minutes at this point in his career. To his credit, he blocks a lot of shots and he throws a lot of hits. He had the second most hits on the Red Wings with 127 last year. He was the third most blocked shots on 142. A lot of that has to do with, playing on the top pair and the biggest, a lot of defensive zone deployments. He's throwing his body. He'll sacrifice his body. I will give him that. He's a very physical defenseman. But he was also a 1 percentile defenseman, according to Evolving Hockey. 1 percentile. According to Evolving Hockey, 99% of defensemen were better than Ben Chiarot last year. And a lot of that, again, has to do with usage. So that's a 1 percentile playing top pair minutes when he probably shouldn't be. 8 percentile offense, 2 percentile defense for 1 percentile overall. The Red Wings iced 7 pairs last year that had over 150 minutes played together. Of those 7 pairs, Ben Chiarot's pair with Seider and Ben Chiarot's pair with Jeff Petrie ranked 5th and 7th in expected goals percentage on the season. 47% with Seider and then 41% with Petrie. 2 of the 3 worst pairs were Chiarot on those pairs. And, when Seider and Edvinsson were paired together, they were the second best. It's just, he is what he is. We know what Ben Chiarot is. I expect Ben Chiarot, and this is no disrespect to the player, but he's 34 years old and he probably shouldn't be playing top 4 minutes, but he is going to. I expect Ben Chiarot to struggle. We need him to carry water. We need him to tread water. We need him to survive, essentially. But I expect him to struggle. Ideally, he's on the third pair, but we're not talking ideally because who are you putting in the top 4 over him right now? It's Simon Edvinsson. That's it. But you might not be able to afford to put Simon Edvinsson on the top pair, which will put Simon Edvinsson on the second pair. So he's going to fill one of the other spots. Albert Johansson maybe in the future, but then who are you going to put on the second pair on the right side? Hull? JBD? Travis Hamonic, who he did a whole, that's, none of those are upgrades. Your pro scouting department has done such a poor job of acquiring a top 4 defenseman. Your amateur scouting's done great. Seider, Edvinsson, Albert Johansson, great acquisitions. But the pro scouting's been so poor that you don't have anyone to play those minutes, so it falls on Ben Chiarot's shoulders. He is going to be under the magnifying glass all season long again. He's going to be scrutinized, and it's going to be, to a degree, unfair. But that's the reality we live in.
Well, the whole situation's unfair for all of those reasons. So, yeah, I really don't have too much else to add. I think you and I both covered most of the points we wanted to. This is my expectations of him are not very high. I expect a lot of, as we say, Ben Chiarot giveth and Ben Chiarot taketh away moments throughout the year, probably with more taketh away over the course of 82. However, the team is probably going to expect and ask more of him than our expectations because he might be out there for 22 to 25 minutes a night.
He is one of the few players on this team who can play those minutes. And they're going to ask him to play those minutes. And that is the reality. So, that's Ben Chiarot. We're going to head to segment 3. We're going to talk about Austin Watson, fringe NHL guy at this point in his career. More of the conversation with him is how many games do we expect him to play with the Red Wings, if any. So stay tuned for that one in segment 3. Segment 3, Lockdown Red Wings podcast. It's funny, Scotty. As we were preparing for the show, I set the over-under for Austin Watson, and I was like, over-under 30 games. Because in my head, I was like, he played 25 games with the Red Wings last year, and I looked, he only played 13. For some reason, I thought that Austin Watson had played more games than he actually did. So the conversation with Austin Watson, who had 3 goals, no assists in 13 games played with the Red Wings, just an absolute enforcer type at this point in his career. He's a pest in the offensive zone. He forechecks hard. He's not particularly fast, but he gives it his all. He's one of those effort guys that we love so much with the Red Wings organization. A Matt Luff type, a Dominic Shine type, just a dog. Knows that he's going to have to win his minutes with physicality, with his feet, because he's not going to win it with skill. That's Austin Watson. He realizes at this point in his career, over under 13 and a half games with the Detroit Red Wings next year.
Under. I think.
Why do you think it's going to be under?
I really think that it's hard to predict because it's going to be almost exclusively based on injuries. There should not be a situation where strictly performance-based this dude is playing 20-plus games with the Detroit Red Wings.
If he's playing, sorry to cut you off, but if he's playing, like you just said, 20-plus games, performance-based, that's an indictment on the performance of the other players on this.
Correct. Right. 100%. And so I think that prediction is almost not even worth trying to get right because it's injuries aren't predictable, and that is, again, should be the only reason why he is getting more than a quarter or a third of the season on the Red Wings roster. If it is because of performance, then something has gone, and again, that's not disrespect to him. He does one thing and he does it well. But something has gone pretty catastrophically wrong if they need to reshuffle the bottom six enough where Watson is getting like consistent everyday playing time in the bottom six.
Yes. If you were to ask me pure health, right? If players stay relatively healthy, I'm taking the under. I think he is perfect for the AHL at this point. He's going to be a great veteran mentor for the Griffins. He was last year. I know he was really highly talked about in the Griffins locker room. He performed well too on the stat sheet in Grand Rapids in the AHL. Yeah. I think he'll spend most of his season there. This is the final year of his contract with the Detroit Red Wings, $775,000 at the NHL level, which I believe is the league minimum. And then if he gets a call up due to injury, then he'll play 7 minutes a night and put out there in an enforcer role when your top two lines need a break. So he is exactly what he needs to be at this point for the Red Wings. Just break glass in case of emergency call up guy who's got NHL experience, so he knows his job, he knows the role, he knows what he has to do. But I expect him. I hope he's lower on the depth chart, because that would mean that other players have passed him, which is what you want, like a Carter Mazur, who, we have only two players left, I think, for these player previews, so why don't we throw him in on our next player preview and just have a round 3 for next episode. Carter Mazur, you want to see fill in those shoes and exceed those shoes. You want him to be an everyday NHLer, but play a youthful version of that role, so to speak. That bottom six grinder who can play regular minutes, but keep up with the pace of play. So I hope that we see him less next year, not because I don't like Austin Watson, but because I want youth to take that step forward.
For sure. And ultimately you want that depth point production. And Austin Watson, I love him. I love him to death, right? Absolute dog, a fan favorite here. But at his best, again, he does things well at an NHL level on the ice, but that is not consistent point production. And you're just looking and hoping, at least, that you're going to get that from some other places. So, yeah.
Yes, sir. All right, Scotty.
Really quickly, sorry.
Yeah,
did you see magically now teams are backing out of offering McTavish an offer sheet, and we're all supposed to be really surprised?
I did not see that.
It's just really funny to me.
I'm not surprised. This happens in every single sport. Look at what happened in the NFL today. Or yesterday, by the time people are listening to this, the Trey Hendrickson stuff. Yeah. He requested a trade, and everyone's like, oh, he's leaving. No, he's not. This is just all part of the negotiation game. He signed a deal. He's staying. Happens in the NHL, too. Marco Rossi, right? They were talking about how there's a rift there, and they could trade Marco Rossi. That's all smoke. He's not going anywhere. He's staying. And he did.
Because it was always ridiculous for the Ducks. And, nothing's officially official yet. There's still time for something to happen. We'll keep an eye on it, obviously. But even when we did the show and we were breaking down, hey, Red Wings say they might be interested in McTavish, whatever, we were like, okay, I'm sure they are, but that doesn't mean that the Ducks are going to let him, go, or are going to be willing to part ways with him no matter what an offer sheet looks like. So, yeah, I saw that, and I see now, every day there's another team that's no longer in on him. It's this was always going to happen. He was always kind of going to be a Duck.
Because in reality, when you have a player who is an RFA, under team control, you likely don't let him go while he's still under team control.
Correct.
So,
yeah. Especially that high of a
good
first-round pick. Yeah.
Yeah, a good RFA.
It's still young and produced last year. Yeah.
But it's fun to talk about, so we talk about it in the offseason.
Correct.
All right, Scotty, any final thoughts on this episode?
I don't think so, man. We ball.
We do ball. We will be back with a new episode tomorrow, actually, because somebody threw our schedule off this week. We won't name any names. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. Your team every day.
Every day.
It was me.